What is a double closing in real estate? Guys, at the end of this video, you're gonna have a certainty, like a knowledge of what the double closing is, but more importantly, how you can use it to win big in wholesaling real estate. For those of you new to my channel, my name's Cody Hofhine, and this channel is dedicated to helping individuals make money wholesaling real estate and ultimately become financially free. Hit that subscribe button down below as well as the bell so it alerts you when I put out fresh new content. In this video, I'm gonna go over the two methods. Now, the first method, guys, each one of you and probably all of you know exactly what it is, but this second method, very few of you are gonna know and very few are actually using it. Stick with me till the end because I have a free gift for each one of you. All right, let's go to the board and let's go over method number one, the one that many of you are familiar with, and that is a traditional assignment. What is that assignment? There's going to be a seller, we're going to call that A. There's going to be wholesaler or investor, so we'll put wholesaler, and that we're going to name B. And then there's going to be a cash buyer, a cash B. I know this writing is not that great. Bear with me. You're going to like this. Okay? So you got your seller A, your wholesaler B, your cash buyer is C. Traditional assignment, let's look at what that looks like. You've got wholesaler that has a contract or a purchase agreement with seller or A, so B to C, and let's say they have the home under contract at $100,000. Now, the other part of that is there's a contract between B and C, the wholesaler and the cash buyer, where you are selling the contract, where now the cash buyer is acting in lieu of you, in place of you, to close on the home with A, the seller. And maybe you market that contract for $110,000. In this traditional way of doing this method that most people know, your cash buyer that wants this deal is going to bring $110,000 to the closing company or the title company or the closing attorney, and then funds are going to be dispersed. $100,000 of that is going to go to the seller, and then $10,000 of it is going to go to me, the wholesaler. Now, the benefits behind this traditional method, this assignment, is the fact that you, the wholesaler, don't need to come to closing with any of your own money, nor will you have any closing costs. All of these fees and the money is going to be passed on to your cash buyer. All right, let's talk about the second method, what many of you are not using and can start using to your benefit, and that is what's called a double closing. What is a double closing? The only difference between a double closing and that prior method, the assignment, is there's still going to be these three parties involved. So we have a seller, who we're still going to call A. We have the investor, or the wholesaler. I'm just going to put an I, and that is the B. And then I'm going to put your cash buyer over here, who C is going to represent. Now, instead of an assignment between B and C, there's still going to be this purchase agreement between A and B, and let's say still $100,000. But now, instead of just assigning, where you're going to do an assignment to your cash buyer, you're actually closing on this property first and foremost, and then your cash buyer is going to be now just buying it from you and no longer the seller because you actually closed on the deal. So depending on what that number is, I'm going to put this in here as the number. Maybe you bought it for $100K, but you're going to be selling it to your cash buyer for $150K. Stick with me because I'm still going to break this down. In a traditional assignment closing, let's go back to this for 1 second. Your seller would be coming to, let's say, the title company or your closing attorney and selling the docs or signing the docs, and maybe they come in at 10 a.m. Once they've signed the docs, then you, the investor or wholesaler, come in, and maybe you come in at 11 o'clock and sign your portion, your closing docs, right? And then your cash buyer comes in, let's call it at 12 noon, and your cash buyer signs on the purchase docs. Now, right here throughout this whole thing, once this buyer signs, He's also going to bring the funds to the table, and by, let's call it, 2 p.m., your cash buyer's funds have been dispersed so that your seller gets the 100K, and then the wholesaler gets their fee, whatever that was. In the past one, it was $10,000. All right, let me teach you this ninja strategy on the double close, because typically what would happen is you're gonna have to purchase this from the seller and then turn around and sell it to your cash buyer. Now, why would you do that? It's because there's a couple reasons. The big reason why people will close on it first before they sell it to a cash buyer is sometimes it's the state. Wherever you live, it may be that you have to close on the deal before you can sell it. They won't allow just a traditional assignment. So if that's the case, I want you guys to be reaching out to a real estate attorney to find out your laws. This changes. Real estate is not defined the exact same in every state. So be sure to check with your real estate attorney to find out which way you have to do it. So that's one reason. The second reason is maybe you're gonna make a lot more money than what you normally make. So instead of just making a $10,000 assignment where the cash buyer's, okay, you made $10,000, that's fantastic. But what if you make $50,000 or $60,000? When your cash buyer goes to close and sign his docs, that number is going to be on the HUD statement. It's gonna be on the closing docs. So he's gonna be signing, and all of a sudden he's gonna be like, wait a second, the wholesaler's gonna make $60,000? So the best way to hide that fee, or to where they're not gonna groan because you're making a lot of money as a wholesaler, is first close on this deal, and then afterwards sell that home, because you're now the owner, to your cash buyer. Now there's a way to do it that you're gonna incur a lot of money, and there's gonna be a way to do it where your cash buyer's gonna have all the closing costs and all the fees passed on to him. So let's break that down right now. But before I get to that strategy, what I want you to do is hit that subscribe button. I also want you to hit that bell so it alerts you when I put out fresh new content. If you were to just simply close on this home with transactional funds or hard money, you would have to pay the cost of that money in the time that you have it. Now guys, this is a simultaneous close. So you're closing on it, and in the same moment, you're selling it off to your cash buyer. So instead of closing on it and you own it for a little bit of time and you incur that closing cost, and then you have to turn around and sell it, and now there's another set of closing costs, what you can do is called a double escrow or simultaneous close. What does that mean? It means this. Seller's still gonna come in, let's say at 10 a.m. Seller does that. You come in at the end at 11. After your seller's done signing all of his docs or her docs, you're gonna come in at 11 a.m. And what you're going to do is you're going to sign the purchase documents as well as sign your selling documents, because you're gonna be purchasing it from them as well as selling it simultaneous to this end buyer, the cash buyer. So it's crucial to understand this. This has to be done with a title company that knows what they're doing. This has to be done with a closing attorney that knows what they're doing. Most individuals will not do this. They just don't know it. They've never done it before. So you've got to talk to an investor-friendly title company or closing attorney to make this work. So what you're going to do is you're going to have this all done in the same escrow. So instead of two separate transactions, closing on the deal and then turn around selling the deal, what you're going to do is you're going to come in, you're going to sign the closing docs for you and the seller to purchase it, and you're also going to sign the selling docs. Now the cash buyer comes in at noon, right? And this time what he does, again, all within the same escrow. This is the same escrow. He comes in and he closes on the transaction between the two of you and brings the funds. The funds are then passed forward because this was done on the same escrow. The funds are passed through to close on the first transaction simultaneously, and then the leftover money is left for you. Now guys, if done correctly, this can save you a lot of money. This is something that you really need to take serious, because a double close, if you have to double close every time and actually borrow the funds and actually close on it, you're gonna incur a ton of cost. So be sure that when you're doing this, that these title companies, these closing attorneys, they know what they're doing. Research, talk to people who have done a double close, a simultaneous close. See who they're using, get those referrals to make this even easier for you. Now guys, title companies and closing attorneys are not created equally. That's why I want to give you guys a free gift, and that is an access to my free guide on what you need to know. It's an in-depth guide on what you need to know when finding your title company or your closing attorney, depending on what state you're in. All you got to do is click that link down below in the description. It'll give you access to it so you know how to really interview your title company or your closing attorney so that you can get out there, use this new double close strategy, and save a ton of money.